And we are live, and I hand it over to our host of the week, Caleb Pike.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday. Here we are, all settled in, all ready to go. Welcome back. Jem, welcome back from your trip. Hope you're doing well, and hope everyone else is doing well. Muting the video in the background because I'm an amateur, apparently. How's everybody doing?
The same.
Nice. Got a couple of people here in the chat. We got Tony, Oliver, Jago, Larry, David, Jake, and Shiz. Good to see ya. How you two doing?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm all right.
Oh, good.
Yeah? You seem a little more chipper. Is that because, Ben, because the country's opening up, or just doing better in general? Just rested?
Just doing better. I think over this entire period, and speaking to a lot of other people, everyone's been a little bit up and down. I think a couple of weeks ago when we were last on, I was in one of my lower weeks, I think. But the last 2 weeks, yeah, good. Lots of physical exercise, lots of gardening, and the sun shining, and generally feeling a lot happier, and getting away from social media and reading the news. Those things are very good for one's mental well-being, I feel, at the moment. So, yeah.
Nice.
So I'm definitely feeling more chipper than last time.
Awesome. And then Jem, back
here I am,
from
California. Yeah, went down to Santa Barbara for a little over a week. 15-hour drive down, split the trip on the way
amazing.
Up. And the world still exists out there, by the way. I wouldn't have wanted to go to New York or to LA for a job right now, but it was a good production, and it was nice to get hands on camera more than just doing this for 2 months. And so it's good to work again, and I have no idea where the next job's coming from, but that was nice. So it's good to see you guys. I can't believe it's been 2 weeks. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. So let's do this. Let us know what you all will be sipping on this evening. I'm going to be going around here and seeing what you guys are up to. So let's start with Ben. What do we got this week?
Okay, so something different this week, just because I was getting I'm feeling guilty, really, that I kept drinking the same thing, and that we should make things a little bit more interesting. So I went and had a little delve around the back of the cupboard where bottles that no one likes live, at the very back of the cupboard.
Oh, yes.
So I've pulled this out. Now, Becherovka, we've drunk on here before, which is this kind of traditional Czech drink that you drink with tonic normally. Very good, like that very much. And then they brought this lemon version out. Now, I'm kind of sort of a traditionalist with that kind of stuff. I'm not really up for this mixing things. If I want it to taste like lemon, I'll put a slice of lemon in the normal one, Anyway, this has somehow appeared in my cupboard, so I'm going to try it. And it's a bit of an alien concept to use, Caleb, but this is it's sealed. It's a completely fresh bottle. It's full. Look at that.
Now, what?
It's even got the seal on.
Can I? Did you chill it, or are you going to have it on ice, or what do you do?
Look, I have a glass full of ice.
Very nice.
I
have a bottle of the original from you here at the house. But I was
so you
interested.
Don't like it much either, because I gave you that years ago. So.
Well, I do, but nobody else wants to drink it with me. No, I like those. I like those, herbaceous ones sometimes, but I just don't ever remember to drink them. So yeah. So there you go.
All
David's
right,
having vodka with cranberry, doing a Cape Cod.
Yep.
There you go. All right, I like it.
Tastes like Lysol, I'm sure, in Box Media Chicago.
Yeah, did you see Ben's face there? He kind of had to take that in. Lovely.
I don't know what Lysol is. Is that kind of a toilet cleaner?
It's a lemon-scented all-purpose bathroom cleaner.
You can't find it in this country right now.
Like, yeah.
It's virtually
Jem,
impossible.
What do you got?
So I might have gone on to FMC's closeout hangout on Zoom last night, and I might have been up really late, and I might have had way too much whiskey, way too much scotch. So I'm going to keep it a little simple here. There's going to be some alcohol in it, but I'm going to have an incline blood orange cider, which I like very much. And it's just a light beverage for today. And that's what I'm having in the glass.
Okay.
And what about you?
You guys picking up the citrus train.
Yeah, well, you know.
For me,
it's
I'm going to pretend I'm Jem Schofield. And,
here we go.
work on this a little bit. Come on, baby. There we go.
Founders Reserve. Very nice.
Not quite Caleb level, but getting there.
That's pretty full.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, not
It's
bad,
It's
right?
pretty enjoyable, yeah.
It's at least double what I usually have left, so I'm going to...
Liquor is cheap in California, so I came back with a few bottles of bourbon and scotch. I got 2 Japanese whiskeys when I was down there. So
Japanese whiskey.
Very nice. So in future shows. So cheers to you gentlemen. And
cheers.
Good to be back and good to have the chat going. I'm excited to be here for another Camera and Flask.
Cheers, ladies and gentlemen.
It's like a soda. Joe, Caleb is hosting this week. We don't know whose turn it is, but we decided it's Caleb's turn. So that's what's happening.
That's horrible. Right.
Perfect.
Oh, no.
All right. Do you have a backup drink? Go run and get a backup drink.
No. I'm a trooper. I'm gonna ride it out.
Maybe some more ice.
Maybe just more of it in general. Numb the taste buds a little bit, and it'll improve.
Perfect. All right. We'll see how this goes in about 45 minutes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
All right, so let's do this. We're talking whatever has been released since we were last on, which is 2 weeks ago. There's been a couple of things. Anything we want to start with, and about halfway through the show, we'll kind of throw it over to the chat, and of course throughout the whole show. So if you have any questions, definitely let us know, and let us know how you guys have been doing. If there's your country or your state is opening up, kind of entering that interesting transition period where we see what life's going to be like. So, gear, anything pop out at you guys in the last couple weeks?
I mean, I would say that we've got to have a discussion about the 6K for 6K Komodo, which apparently you can get
6K for 7K, maybe.
Well, that's if you want to.
Yeah.
If you want a color, which you don't know what it's going to be, a fuchsia.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Are we
That was
starting
kind
with?
of-
Are we starting with red? Is that where we're going,
let's
Caleb?
do it.
That's yeah. So the whole coloured thing. So it's a white one for 7. Is that right? A black one for 6. And then if you email them beforehand, there's a limited edition of something tiny.
Of whatever color.
And I don't know if you get to choose or if something just appears. And it's pink or it's green, whatever, and it looks like a toy. No, I don't think you get to choose. I think it just you send an email saying you want one of the multicolored ones, and it arrives. So it just seems like such a weird thing. Not novel in a good way. It just seems ridiculous. This is a professional tool that you're going to make, and it's in some like Barbie's house color. Like why? I don't get it at all. It just seems a really odd thing. And the white one, it looks ridiculous.
That's a stormtrooper. Got to do it.
Well, first,
Rob,
thank you.
$5.
Awesome.
I got coffee. I got coffee money from Rob earlier today too. Rob is like, I'm drinking coffee. I could maybe if I just keep saving this up, I could get another bottle of scotch. It'd be amazing.
Love it. The white one I can get behind. I can get behind the white one.
For
I'm
$1,000.
Stormtrooper, black, white. I like that stuff.
$1,000.
For $1,000, yeah, that's, But they got to have an a la carte option. They're getting rid of all their proprietary stuff, so they got to, get as much margin in there as they can. Yeah. The other colors, that's awful. Like, think about how that's going to bounce around. Have anything near the camera, it's going to, reflect lime green back into your lens.
Yep.
But yeah, it's what are we thinking about it? Which was Rob's question. I'm excited to see what it's going to be like. I think it's kind of interesting that if this was released a year ago, would have murdered.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like, what?
It's not exciting me particularly.
I mean, after the R5 comes out, then you've got like a bunch of options, But as a, that if you're not into Blackmagic RAW or their cameras, this could be a great, compressed RAW camera option. Because I'd love to do a poll, and if any of you guys know anyone or you yourselves use it, ProRes RAW. Does anyone that like actually, does this for a living use that? I have a hard time believing people do.
There's just not enough.
Love Apple. Atomos is doing some crazy great stuff, but I'm not I feel like if someone were to use it, it'd be someone like me, right? Who's just kind of messing around / doing YouTube-y stuff, but not interested. And if I was doing it for a living, I don't know if I could trust it,
If I were dropping,
there's no
no, I know.
There's no shoot at this ISO and you can tweak it in post and you're good. It's just kind of like keep playing with it and hopefully it's not noisy kind of a situation.
I mean, we definitely need a ProRes RAW 2.0, which, to me, clearly Red and also Blackmagic have, their own compressed RAW solutions. Blackmagic's probably the best. It's a newer implementation. It's kind of like this combo effect, which is what ProRes RAW is really supposed to be as well. It's supposed to act like a regular video codec, but it's actually RAW. But the problem is that when you're jumping into even Final Cut, which is the crazy thing, it's not like you have access to all of the settings that you would expect to see if you were shooting in RAW. So that's the big problem for me, is that I can't access, anything related to ISO, white balance, I can't tweak any of those things. And it's not as if Apple doesn't know how to do that kind of stuff. I mean, they had to do it with, with Aperture when they had their photo editing app. And they had to allow people to go in. And I know that was stills, but they were giving people access to the RAW settings. And they were applying some of their own things to that to optimize what the image was going to be based on the camera system you were going to bring in. But at the same time, they let you turn everything off. So it would be really nice, especially now that they're going to support, Atomos is going to support ProRes RAW through the Zcam cameras. So if you're gonna go all in with Zcam, then maybe you do want to start experimenting with ProRes RAW. But I just think that it's kind of not. Pardon me. Woo. I don't drink cider very much, and Shiz says it looks weird. By the way, a mason jar is very Americana. Hey, shush. Hey, it tastes better than that shit that you're drinking right now, Ben. So I didn't say that out loud. So I just think that if you're all in, with ProRes RAW, it's just kind of weird, like you said, Caleb. It needs to grow up a little bit. It's been around for a long time, and the fact that we don't have access to those parameters, that's the thing that gets me about ProRes RAW.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Adobe have started supporting it this week. That was one of the announcements, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, in the latest version of Creative Cloud Update and Premiere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got to, and for a second I was like, well, maybe they can't somehow. Maybe like the tech, the way it works over HDMI, it's not possible, but it's internal on some cameras. Like it can record internally. So that tells me it's possible.
Yep.
So I don't know, but that needs to happen. And it's if you think about it, it's very Apple,
It is.
I was fortunate enough to be able to, the whatever NAB they released it or first announced ProRes RAW, be able to talk to the people behind it at Apple, and they were just like, just grade, just start moving sliders around. So it's just it makes sense from an Apple perspective. But yeah, I love Red's integration with Final Cut, and I love their compressed RAW. But anyway, not to turn this into a ProRes RAW thing, but yeah, otherwise pretty amazing for Red, I think. $6,000, CFast. What is it? Super 35, yada yada.
Yeah. I think in 6K it goes up to a kind of odd topping out frame rate, which is 40 frames per second. I think I would expect to see 48, and I hope they can push it to that, because that's actually a usable overcranking frame rate. It's not obviously, 60 or, or 120. But 48 is definitely used sometimes to just kind of give it a little slow. There's a lot of conversation going on about my urine sample and the fact that I'm drinking that on the show. So just have fun in the chat while you're going about your business. I'm going to get a lot. Here we go. Now we've got things talking about jars. Oh, and Ben's in on it.
Jars, mannequins.
Sneaky. Oh, my God. Unbelievable. Okay, here we go. Beautiful.
So, love it. Any other camera stuff before we move on? S1H, I think that's old news, right? The whole S1H Adamus RAW.
Yeah.
Pricing or potentially pricing on the R5, which we were all having a little punt at a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago.
Which you were pretty much right on with 6, right? That was your number, right?
That was my number, yeah. Thank you for remembering and making me not have to say it myself. Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
So well done.
Well, me and you, I think we're both erring on the higher side on that, and this isn't confirmed still, but that seems to me, given the price of the one, to be about what I would have expected. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And it comes in at 4, but this was an Australian retailer, I think, had put a kind of placeholder for it with a price on it. So it's certainly not confirmed. That's where it had come from. Not the most reliable of source, but to me, it would make some kind of sense.
It'd be interesting to take the price of when the C300 Mark II came out and the C300 Mark III and figure out that price difference, and create like an equation and see if that's something Canon might do with the R5. But there's really no other camera like it, so it's not like a Mark II.
Yeah, because
so it's a complete new situation.
C300 Mark II both came to market at basically the same price as the C500 Mark II. So it's that, I think it's $15,999 or $16,999 when they first came out. And then they both, the Mark I and Mark II of the C300 dropped to, I think it was $10,999. And then they hit that $9,999, and then they started dropping in like $2,000 increments. So it's different now, Caleb, because now the C300 Mark III is for once a camera that's coming into the market already at a lower price point because it has that C500 Mark II above it. So they're already in the FX9 price range, basically exactly where the FX9 is, unless prices have changed. And that's a really interesting thing to look at between the FX9 and the C300 Mark III, because there's advantages and disadvantages between those two camera systems. The big one being full frame for the FX9, and it just seems like the C300 Mark III, besides lacking the full frame, is really kind of the, funnily enough, more of a Swiss Army knife than the FX9, except for the full frame. And that's weird because the FS7 and the FS7 II were the Swiss Army knife cameras. I would tell people if they were looking at camera to, looking for a camera that as an owner operator to do pretty much anything. They want to shoot a music video. They want to shoot a commercial. They want to go work on the dock. The FS7 and FS7 II were rock star cameras. I still preferred the image a little bit coming out of the C300 Mark II, but quite honestly, the image out of the FS7 and FS7 II is a really nice image if you're treating it correctly. And I would say, after using both of those cameras for a long time, that the FS7 series is a sharper image than what you're getting out of the C300 Mark II for sure. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
And is the sensor on the C300 Mark III new?
Yes.
Right.
That's my understanding, because it's their first dual gain sensor. It's the first time that Canon has ever come out with a dual gain camera system. So, which is really odd because it's coming out not much longer after the C500 Mark II. They clearly knew that they were making this camera and what this camera was going to be. And it's really interesting to see that it has a different sensor. But they also have to, at a very different price point, be in people's minds as an alternative camera to what we think Arri's going to do, which Arri says they're going to release a new Super 35 millimeter sensor. My guess is, and I might be totally wrong about this, is instead of Arri creating a full frame sensor and a Super 35 millimeter sensor, they're just going to create a Super 35 millimeter sensor and do what they've already done with the 65 and the LF. They're just going to basically stack or use multiples of the
together,
same.
yeah.
And
why
that's
not? It's working for them, right?
It's not. Nobody's complaining about the fact that it's working, and they have to make sure that one sensor that they release to the market, which of course will then also allow them to have a lower cost Alexa Mini. They'll have the LF, and then they'll have the lower cost, lower compared to to the LF.
Their own stuff.
But it's gonna, the thing that they cannot get wrong is that sensor has to play well with their original 11 coming on 12-year-old sensor. They can't come out with a camera or that sensor and say, oh, by the way, if you use this new sensor along with your Alexa Mini or your LF or whatever else you're using, it's not going to match, because they're the one company that is pretty consistent throughout in terms of being able to pick up each one of their cameras. They're the Zeiss of cameras. Their lenses match when it comes to Zeiss, whether you like them or not, they match. And I think that's kind of how Arri looks at the images that they capture. So, yeah.
Interesting. So that's camera land. Couple, Jem, you mentioned the Takina, what is it, 25?
25 to 85,
75?
I believe. Is it 25 to 85 or 25 to...
I think it's 75. I just peeked,
which is a nice range.
Show.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a Super 35. Yep. If it's sharp and it doesn't breathe, people will be very interested in it. Gives people a nice range as a variable prime lens. Not quite as wide as I'd like. I mean, 25 to 75 would be really nice if it was a full frame lens. When you're talking about for Super 35 APS-C, it's a little long for me. I really look in
85-ish.
Yeah, a little long. Yeah, but I would really want to have the 18 to 80s that are out there. That's like the sweet spot in a lens for me. Yeah.
Question for you guys: are there any mirrorless mount cinema lenses that you can think of?
Ooh.
Because once we get into that, once we level up, if you will, to the point where all cinema cameras have, E-mounts, RF mounts, like the new Red Komodo is an RF mount, right?
That's right. That's something that we didn't discuss, which is really interesting.
Then it'll be really interesting to see what lens manufacturers do. It's going to be a long transition, right? Because they're not overnight going to just come out with a new line. But if you watch Canon and what they're doing with the RF lenses, it's really interesting how they're essentially reinventing lenses. Like the designs are completely different because of the flange distance. And I wonder if we'll get some interesting action on the cinema end at some point.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think that going down the EF route, there's so many cameras that still use that, and with the RF you can obviously mount to that. That's been kind of one of those big standards. So it's quite if you're investing in cinema lenses, which are investments, they're expensive things, that going down the EF route that you can still adapt to those cameras is a safe bet. I think you're really going to be having to be so locked into a system, because if you're then renting in other cameras, if there's specific cameras that you're going to need to rent in for a specific client, all those lenses are still going to work on that. And if you're then going down to this kind of quite a niche mount, it's difficult, because EF and PL seem they're the two. Those are the two standards for lenses, really, in our game.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this job that I did down in California was interesting because I was primarily shooting all week on the EOS R, and he had a lot of native RF lenses, and we were using the 15 to 35 for most of what we were shooting. It's getting some interesting ghosting in terms of flares. I really like the image that was coming out of the lens. It's a big lens, that 15 to 35, but it was kind of a workhorse that we had on the Zhiyun Weeble S. And it was still able to balance on there. So and then what we did is we had to use, at one point, a regular EF lens, and he had the RF to EF adapters, which he had both the regular one, but he also had the one that has the built-in ND. So you have the wheel that sits behind the lens and the camera body. And I have to say that that's going to be a great advantage for people who are shooting on the Komodo, because that RF to EF mount adapter with ND,
fantastic.
You know, because most of these cameras, and you're talking about a 4-inch by 4-inch camera, this little cube, and now you have an ND solution. And there's so many of those Canon EF lenses out there. I will mention, though, when we're talking about lenses and just like scrolling back, if I'm looking at the Sony lenses and you have that kit 28 to 135, it's okay. It's not the fastest lens in the world. If I were going to adapt lenses and I didn't care about autofocus to a Sony camera, it would be 1,000,000% the Fujifilm MK series, and I do the 18 to 55 and the 50 to 135 lenses T2.9. They're incredibly small. They're really nice. They don't really breathe. I think those are, we've talked about it before. I think those two lenses are rock star lenses. And they like drool worthy. Why can't I use that, you know, on EF mount? Why can't they adapt those lenses? I just really wish they would. But I do have the
big, thick boys.
I know they would. I know they would.
Yeah, since my question of, you know, are there cinema lenses for mirrorless? There are two. By the way, what's your name there? Shuvik? How do you pronounce that? See that in the chat?
Yeah, maybe phonetically pronounce it for us.
He was saying the Fuji Cinema Zooms, which are designed for mirrorless, as well as those. What are those primes from Zeiss for Sony E that are like unbelievably amazing? You know what I'm talking about? The smaller Cine primes from Zeiss.
Yeah,
from Zeiss.
I can't remember.
The Cine ones. Well, so they're kind of. You don't mean the Loxia ones.
Yes, those.
Yeah.
Those are full frame. They're
those
really
are
small.
Awesome.
I wouldn't say that they're. So what I would call those are full frame manual focus still lenses. Is really what they are, because they're not really.
Call them cinema.
I wouldn't call them cinema.
Got it.
Yeah, small brown fox. I would love to get those two lenses for my XT4. But it's not my XT4, and I don't currently have an extra $6,400 US to drop on lenses. I do actually have them here, and so that's cool. And I'm going to be doing some more tests with the XT4 with them. But they're going back in the box pretty soon, and they're going to get sent back to Fujifilm. So, but I love those lenses. I think they're great. And that's to that point. If you want relatively fast lenses and you want them in a mirrorless body and you want that flexibility, then Fujifilm is definitely a place to look, because they're native in their X mount, but they are also, of course, native in E mount, and tons of people have been using them on Sony cameras for a long time. Are there any other native? Yes. What? Tell us.
Vaedras. Oh, the other cinema lens.
Well,
the Vaedras, which they're not making them anymore.
I
but
know. Come on, Ryan, bring them back.
Vaedra / Menic.
That's right. Yeah.
Mikey, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Rob has an interesting question.
Fantastic.
Let's read Rob's question, and everyone in the chat. So, who is the Komodo made for, and what will this camera bring in what I suspect is a pretty competitive end of the market?
Very, very good question. And back to Caleb's point of who would have bought this 12 months ago compared to now, I think is a kind of maybe different, because there are so many more options at that kind of price level. I don't know. And I think this whole thing that having a Red was a ticket to get work, wrongly, obviously, but that definitely was a thing. If you were an owner-operator of a Red, that would open doors for you. And I don't think that's the case anymore, and particularly not with that camera. So I don't know. It's interesting because I think from a practicality point of view, compared to a lot of what else is around at that sort of money, it's not necessarily the best thing for particularly the kind of stuff that we do. I don't think
for what we do, I think that Red makes great cameras. There's no question about the fact that their color science is now good. You know, their compressed RAW is super solid. They've worked out sort of the issues that they used to have with low light, IR contamination, all of that kind of stuff. So they are cameras that, you know, have and will continue to make really great content. But I still feel, and I think this talks to what you're saying, Ben, that those cameras are really for people who are shooting narrative work primarily. It doesn't mean there aren't other people who are like going up and doing amazing aerial footage. I know two people who do that, and they both shoot on Red. You know, we're talking about tabletop stuff and being able to shoot 8K and put that on a Kira, on a robot arm, and do stuff like that. So those types of applications, but they just don't fit with what I do day to day.
No.
Yeah.
Right, and and it's a rental for a lot of those things. I rented. There was something I needed a very specific specification for a job in January or February. They needed to be 8K, so then I rented in with the Monstro sensor, and that was the only choice. And it was pretty good to use, and the image off it was lovely. It's just an interesting thing as to the image of the company a little bit as well, particularly with all the controversy of with the memory stuff with the media. That went on over the last couple of years. Yeah. And sort of seeing how that's kind of affected them. It's a tricky one. Because it's not a super cheap, it's not that kind of, it's not competing directly with the Blackmagic line, which is that kind of real sort of lower budget indie producers. It's not being used for commercial stuff. You know, there's just so many options in that sub 10,000 space now.
Well, Caleb, do you think this is just one thing I was thinking about? Though the form factor and everything about it is really different with the Komodo and let's say the Ursa Mini Pro 4.6K, the G2, right? Those are very different cameras in terms of form factor, and also some of the features that they have and don't have in the cameras. But if you build out a Komodo and let's say you give yourself a $4,000 buffer to build it out to something that you're really going to use, do you think that people who are shooting on Blackmagic's more expensive cameras are going to seriously consider that? Or they're going to just say, wait a minute, $6,000 starting price for 6K, I'm going to go down to that pocket cinema camera for $2,000. Like, how do you feel about that?
I just feel like they're different markets altogether. Like, if you look at Blackmagic users, they're kind of the nerds on the block, if you will. They're the Linux folk. It's slowly becoming more cool, and I think over time Blackmagic is going to continue to eat up the market. But right now, that's kind of where it is. Whereas Red has such a cult following. You know, they're the cool kids. I could see a lot of existing Red customers buying tons of those, you know, as like C cameras, extra cameras. But I don't know, because that's a big jump, especially now that Blackmagic dropped the camera. I would love to do a comparison between the two. I should try to get one if there's a way to do a 6K comparison between the two, because you're looking at $6,000 brain only versus $2,000 now for the Pocket 6K, which is really good. Anyone who thinks it's just a bigger sensor version of the Pocket 4K, they're completely different sensors. Colors completely different, contrast completely different. So it's really interesting. I don't know. I'm with Ben. Like, I don't know, or all of us, I guess, we're questioning where this kind of fits in.
Yeah, it's a little strange as well. And we were talking about the R5 earlier as well, and that becoming a competitor to this camera. When you're looking at those lenses that we were just talking about with the new RF mount, So this does have AF on it as well, which I know, if you're a proper cinematographer, you can't use AF.
Well, no, but it's not going to be.
No, we're talking about
like
quality.
Anyone
yeah,
else.
we're not giving.
Yeah.
We're not taking the piss out.
I'm-
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that for a lot of people who are buying cameras at that sort of market, it is a big deal because you're working often on your own if you're spending that sort of budget on cameras, I would say, or in very small crews. And there are times when the AF is exceptionally useful. It has it, but even on Red Zone, because it's not like dual pixel, you see it. It's pretty slick. But even on their demonstration, it's going a little past and snapping back because that's how that technology works. But that's not usable for pull focusing using that system. It's not tracking. It's not really that useful, other than just getting a snap focus point and moving on. Yeah. It's not something that you're going to do whilst you're mid-shot. So I don't know. It's all this stuff that just makes me think it sits in this really weird space, and it just doesn't really fit in anymore. A bit like their phone.
It's too late. Yeah, it's because whenever you think seriously about the R5, it's not going to be a thing. For around the same price, you get 8K full frame RAW with CFast SD cards.
Yeah,
and it's Canon with amazing autofocus. You're not going to beat that, I don't think.
But you know what Canon needs to do, by the way, and let's just call a spade a spade. I mean, Komodo is the gateway drug into Red's ecosystem. So if anybody wants to shoot Red, this is going to be a great way for them to do it, because to get into it at the next level, and hopefully they have a hydrogen so they can turn that in for a little extra credit when the black version comes out. But, for Canon, I think what they need to do is they need to expand. Like, if you look at their Cinema EOS line, they now have the MA400, which you can use on the XC series. You can use it on the C300 Mark II. It's a little audio unit, right? So it plugs in and it gives you XLR inputs. I think at the very least they need to, even if it doesn't go hot shoe like it does with the Sony, and the Panasonic is also hot shoe, right, Caleb? It's not just cables going in for the XLR input. So to me,
so Panasonic's got the best version of that currently, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Sony's is not bad, but those two are really units that Canon needs to have for something like the R5, because the R5 is very much going to be all about video. It's a video camera, and it is RF mount, right? So so you talk about that. Now you talk about the very ND sitting in between that and EF lenses. And if you can put a little audio unit on there, I mean, that's pretty rock solid. And I'm not saying they're going to come out with that, but I think they should have something like that.
Oh, and stabilization, right? In-body stabilization. That's a whole other thing I forgot.
I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That Komodo doesn't have.
You've got that. And in terms of your lens flexibility, when you then start to consider that, so obviously we're talking about I think they took 5 stops internally, even if you're putting a non-stabilized lens on. Yep. So if you've got that, and if that's implemented well, and then you've also got that variable ND filter, variable ND mount, which then means that you're able to put wide lenses with bulbous fronts on, so things like the very wide Sigma art line, which you can't put filters on anything wider than, I think, the 20, maybe even the 21, 24, I can't remember. But even from not particularly wide, you can't put, there's no threaded end on that. So now you're able to put ND on the back of it rather than on the front of it.
Yeah.
It's just an incredibly flexible system. Now, again, none of us have used this. There's been no test footage. We don't know if there's some hideous flaw in it. But on paper, the thing's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, that camera right now is what we thought the A7S III was going to be, or had the promise to be. And, and here it is coming out from Canon. I think we can pretty safely say that for $7,500 US, you're going to, you're going to be able to build out a pretty killer little kit with that camera. But we'll see. Yep. There's always going to be one thing that's wrong. There's always going to be one gotcha in there.
Maybe the low light is just awful.
Yeah. Can you imagine? It's like never shoot past 1250 ISO, which today would be ridiculous. Or even if you said you can't really...
Remember when, like, was it 5D days? What was it, 1,000? You're done.
Oh yeah, you went to 1250,
1,000 ISO.
and it was
1250,
dog poo. No, 1250 was like starting to be dog poo. Like you would do it, but you would have to denoise in post. And now, now you're scoffing at the camera. If you can't shoot at 3200 minimum, that's your minimum like high ISO.
Gotta be able to go 64. That's my thing. 64 is like
64. Yep.
Oh, but I've got a question for you both on this. Do you still, and particularly with me, that when I sort of learnt on film cameras, when you were really trying to keep things to the lowest ISO possible, there's just a little switch in my brain that even though I know that camera is perfectly capable of being pushed to 32, 64, and way beyond, I hate doing it. I still have this
100%.
real distrust of it. Anything over 800, and I'm going, no.
I feel like I'm shooting doves if I'm over native ISO.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've tuned myself to I try to I have this, I try to rate cameras at 800, and that's sort of the way my mind thinks when I'm shooting. But there's just times where I'm like, there's no way. I have to push it, and it's good to be able to push it when you need to. I see some chatter in here about people talking about the camera will not cost more than $4,000 US, according to Canon or somebody at Canon. Somebody said $37.99 US Target. I'm telling you right now, I don't see that camera less than $5,000 US, and I think it's going to be $5,000 to $6,000. They're putting way too much into that camera for it to come in at under $4,000. If it comes in under $4,000, I will.
Hang on. So what you're saying is what you said 2 weeks ago is absolutely wrong, and I was right. That's what you've just said.
You can go back and play back. We all agreed it was $5,000 to $6,000.
No,
I never said.
No. That's
I never said $4,000. I never said $4,000. Nope.
No.
We were all on the same group.
I think we're all like 1DX lane.
5 to 6. Yeah. I never. You can go back. Do a replay.
You were the first one to say 6.
You said the number first, but we were all in agreement that this was going to be $5,000 to $6,000. I just can't see them doing it.
I've been using 4 as like the lowest, like miracle number. 35 to 4.
That is like miracle. I mean, they're only doing that if they just, and it's not really a Canon move to do it. But if they're really trying to go after S1H land and they're saying we're making a statement here, then that's why they would go between $4,000 and $5,000. But I still think it's going to be over $5,000.
Universe if it's 4, but I mean you just look at like AK, raw internal, in-body stabilization, and it being a Canon camera. All of that combined, and then you compare it to the C500.
We don't know what version of log it's going to shoot in, do we?
No,
it hasn't said yet.
I mean,
no log. That's the
no
joke.
log.
Unless unless it's raw. It's like raw or standard.
Yeah.
In portrait. That's it.
I just wish it was. If a Canon Log 3, I would be thrilled to bits. If I'm getting 13 stops, and it's like Canon Log 3, and I can push the ISO, let's say 6400. We're wishing here, but let's just say, and there's a wide gamut option inside of the camera, then it'll be really interesting. If it's just standard old Canon Log, 709, that'll be disappointing. When you put all of this stuff in there in terms of these ingredients, which that could be the dick move right there. It could be.
They could make it like
they could totally dick move it.
Or it's butt.
Oh yeah,
like that's your
choice. which is what they've done in the Cinema EOS cameras with the C200. That's exactly.
Yeah.
You get 150 megabits per second. You get Canon Log 3, but it's 709. You don't get to go P3. You don't get 2020. You don't get to go past Go. None of that kind of stuff. And I don't think they're going to give you a lot of that.
No. This is the weirdest thing. When you shoot dual camera with the C200 and the EOS R, and you're both shooting them in 4K, but we're not in RAW, just in the internal 4K 264, and the EOS R is eating cards up 3 times quicker than the C200 is.
Yeah, isn't it like 400 megabits per second or something?
Yeah, it's 400. Yeah. It's just a really, really bizarre thing.
Is it 400 in all eye and IBP, or just in all eye? Do you know?
Oh, I've never shot in IBP.
Question.
All I would.
Okay.
I think in
I
IBP you might be limited. You might not be able to get everything. But wouldn't it be funny if it's like on the R5, it's line skipping, like just all the bad stuff, like
the bad stuff,
horrible rolling shutter.
Yeah. The readout is the slowest ever recorded by Cinema 5D. Yeah, exactly.
That seriously is a concern.
Upscale
I would say
4K. It's just like
it overheats in like 12 minutes. You can do 12-minute rolls in 8K, which they could do that too. That could be part of the dick move.
Yeah, that's a serious.
Hey, David, we all will mail you like a bottle of something if it's $4,000 or less. We'll send some of our savings your way.
$4,000 US or less, and if you hit $37.99, then we will all get. Who's the one that's stating this?
David Joseph.
David Joseph.
Okay, so David, I'm gonna say if it's $37.99, then I will buy you a bottle of something anywhere between $50 and $75 US. That'll be if you hit that number right there.
That would be amazing. I've looked up just while we've been chatting. The price of the 1D3, 1X Mark III right now is $6,500 at B&H. And if you look at the spec sheet on that and look at the R5, the R5 is a more capable camera.
It. Yeah.
Where's David based, by the way?
For video, but if you're a sports shooter, you know.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Different animal.
But I would say different animal, but very much on a par in terms of overall level of spec.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, even though it's.
Wait, I need to let me clarify some things with David here. First of all, David, where are you based? Are you in the U.S. or are you in East Jabib? I want to know that. Just tell me
$4,000.
Yeah,
you should have been asking 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. So, but if it's $4,000 or less, then I'll buy you an up to $50 bottle. And Caleb said he's in. He'll do something. He'll buy something.
I'll do something way nicer than 50. Yeah. I'll literally send you savings. Like if I can buy the camera for $4,000 instead of 6.
Yeah. But I'm saying
I don't know what I'd send you.
I'm saying you have to nail it.
I'll send you a gift card of Amazon or B&H for like.
Okay. David says. David says he's in the U.S.
Absurd. That's $4,000.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
So David is in the U.S. now. I don't know what that means. Are you getting deported at some point? Mm-hmm. You said okay. So
he's trying to get you to up the ante. He's like, that's cheap.
Yeah. If you're okay, so here we go. Really? So if you nail
that's cheap too.
If you nail the number on the money, if it's $37.99, I'll buy you a $100 bottle of something. So and then I'll also pay for shipping. Okay, so there you go. That's my offer to you. If it's $4,000 or less and you don't nail the number, then I'll buy you a nice bottle of something. Okay, and then you've got Caleb in there, and Ben is for the first time ever on Camera and Flask. He's really quiet right now, so I'm just messing with you. Okay,
I'll buy you a beer at NAB.
There we go. You'll never have to.
So David could score a massive. He's got a gift card. He's got a bottle of scotch or whatever. It's a good day. If the R5 announcement comes around.
It's a good day for everybody.
And David is a financial advisor. Well, there you go. Okay. He'll collect interest on the money you give him there.
Bingo.
Caleb. Bingo.
But here's COVID. I never knew COVID tourism was a thing. Anyway.
What's up, Guillermo?
Anyway, we love you, David. Thank you. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Excited. Okay, good. This will be good. All right.
I so hope you're right, David.
So I wanted to ask you a question, gentlemen, and also to the chat. We're kind of drying out on the equipment discussion now. There might be a couple of other things up on New Shooter and Cinema 5D.
Just for 5 seconds, Aperture Nova 600D. Holy cow, that's amazing.
Come on.
Insane.
$1,700 US for the Nova, right?
Yeah.
And when did they say shipping?
May 27th, pre-orders.
Oh, so we're just a week away.
Unknown pricing,
I
but
missed this. Nice.
It's absurd. It's stupid land.
Yeah. I would say that the only light, and you can go see the review of it, that would be interesting to compare because of the price point is the Tyco from Luxley, because that 2x1 is about $1,700 US and very well reviewed on News Shooter by Matt Allard. It's like I think it's a little bit shorter than War and Peace and Dr. Zhivago, that review, but I'm talking about the two books combined. But it's pretty intense. So that's great. So we've got lots of fun stuff coming from Aperture. Oh, and Astera is releasing, though very expensive, their own bulb. It doesn't have a built-in battery. Did you guys see that on News Shooter?
I did.
So Astera has a bulb with some controls on it. It does, plug
Yuri,
into a socket. Yeah,
right?
Is that what it's called? Yeah, something like that.
The company is.
It wasn't very cheap though.
No, it's but Yuri LEDs. I think it's if you just Google Yuri LEDs, it's literally the company in China making this stuff, and I guarantee
Astera?
you can see. Oh, you're talking about the bulb with the
I'm
little
talking about the bulb.
focusable thing.
The News
This is on
Shooter,
News Shooter, right?
Yeah, it's the Astera. Yeah.
I think that's Yuri LED, right?
Oh, speaking of ProRes RAW, they just posted something on News Shooter about the Panasonic S1H and Atomos Ninja 5 with ProRes RAW recording. First impressions. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, Yuri Light. Is that something else? Something different? 16 watt dimmable and angle adjustable par 30.
No. Keep scrolling down and load more.
Oh, okay.
And you'll see it should be on their site. Astera, I thought, has a bulb that they're now releasing, but it's like $150 US for the bulb, so it's not inexpensive. But I don't see it now, so I'm wondering.
Astera
Here it is. NYX bulb. Yeah, it's just
completely different.
Here it is, and you can see here, but it doesn't have a built-in battery. It does go onto mains. The interesting thing is it's a 14 watt, so it's twice the draw and probably close to twice the output of the Aperture one, because I think that's a 7 watt bulb. And it's definitely very different, but it's also going to be pretty expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. But you can actually buy one.
That is true.
Is the issue with the Aperture one.
Well, when is the Aperture one supposed to come out? Now that's not too far away, right?
I forgot.
Last September?
I think this summer. Yeah. End of summer.
Right. So Shazam says R6 will be $24.99. I'd buy that for $1 potentially. But then I think that your R5 is going to be at least double that. So that's my feeling. So we'll see, David. I don't lose very often on pricing things out, and I would not trust a Canon rep on the price of. I would not trust a Canon rep on the price of the camera. Those people blow smoke in every direction. I don't mean Canon specifically. I mean, we hear so many rumors about somebody at such and such company said it's going to be this or that or have these features or whatever it's going to be, and very, very oftentimes that just turns out to be vapor info. Is that a thing? I don't even know if we say vapor info. Cool. Okay. So I was just asking before, what would be a fun topic for next week? We got to kind of get back to a challenge or doing something else that's a little more interesting. Any thoughts anybody have on that? And the chat too. Let's go ahead and do that. Anybody got anything?
Holy cow, David Carroll, $20 US.
What is going on? Wait a minute.
OP. That's half of a Scotch bottle right there.
Where is it? I don't even show it up as a. Does it show up as a super chat? Where is it? I want to be able to promote it.
It's one of David's clever.
There he is. Come on.
Whatever.
Let's put it over. Let's put it over Mr. Mr. Schoenfeld's face over here, and we can see that. Last night I was Jim Schoenfeld in the hangout for some reason. Hippo character stands idle whilst his new and most powerful body. These are crazy. All right. Love you, David. Awesome. I'm down with this. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And always good to have you in the chat and as part of the show every single week. It's awesome. Yeah, very cool. All right. So what are we going to do? What's the conversation, everybody?
Well,
in fact, David.
What are we doing, folks? All right.
Yeah.
4320 is saying, would love to see round 2 of the favourite screen caps we did about a month ago with maybe some technical discussion around it. We could do
say that again?
I'm sorry, what?
So one suggestion from the chat, would love to see round 2 of the favourite screen caps you did about a month ago with maybe some technical discussions around it.
Oh, yes. So going in and like pulling favorite frames from movies that we love.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. Any suggestions, guys? Any other ideas? Things you'd like to see? Challenges?
Wireless audio and wireless video. Okay.
Tony McKay saying it'd be interesting to hear you guys talk about industries that are paying for video services currently.
I mean, it's not a. I'm having conversations with people. Yeah. No. No.
Yeah.
It's well, I will say this, and I have friends who are, I'm not in the feature film, commercial, episodic world, but I know a few people who are, and one person's feature is now spring 2021. Music industry is very similar. It's going to be spring 2021 before things start happening and people are going to, allow venues to have concerts and things like that. I think it's going to be almost Christmas time until people start going back to movie theaters in quantity. In fact, near me, about 45 minutes away, they're reopening the drive-in theater, and I think they're going to do gangbusters over there. And they're going to, right now might be the time to build a drive-in theater.
Yeah.
There's loads of them here have reopened for the first, and they've been open, that used to run in the 70s. And for the first time in 40 years, these things are reopening. But also, normal cinemas opened last week, which I think is kind of insane. But you have to wear a mask, and you can only have 100 people in the auditorium.
I got to jump in. I got to jump in with David.
Is not going.
Yeah. I got to jump in with David's comment, though. C300 is a professional camera. That's true. The R5 is a prosumer camera. Questionable. Think of all the YouTubers switching and helping rebuild the Canon brand. I will tell you, David, that if this camera is $37.99, YouTubers are not buying the camera. It's just too expensive. And I'm not saying that there aren't some YouTubers who will buy it at around $4,000 US, but they are not that market. They are the top of the range is about $2,500 US. If you're talking about a YouTuber, $3,000, don't you think? I'm not talking about your category.
I disagree with you a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Gerald and you and the people who are creating content in and around camera systems. I'm talking about content creators who are not focused on our market. And I don't think that they generally will do that, but they're people who are very serious. I think, but that's just me. You maybe have a better perspective on that.
There's all levels of YouTubers. Like, there's YouTubers buying Red Monstros.
Right.
And but
aren't those people really camera people, or is it they're just big?
Well, no,
and they
mostly a big portion of the community is like tech reviewers, and all those guys buy expensive cameras. So I wouldn't say, like, when you think of overall YouTube, sure, most people are happy with the Canon DSLR still, like an 80D or whatever.
Right.
But I think Canon would a lot of YouTubers would buy it for sure. Okay. There's a big portion of people that,
if it was that price,
not
but
everybody.
If it's $5,000 plus, you think there's a lot of YouTubers buying it?
Yep.
Okay, got it.
No.
Okay, good perspective.
3,500, 37.
Okay, interesting.
And again, it's Canon. A YouTuber will spend $3,500 on a Canon camera, but they won't spend $3,500 on Panasonic, Sony, etc.
Interesting. So the brand is still that strong.
Window. Oh yeah.
So that
Canon is wicked strong in YouTube.
interesting.
Sony over $2,000, you're starting to be like, nah, I don't think so. But
Interesting. Okay.
because all
That's
the
good.
YouTubers started on Canon, so they all love it. You know.
Yeah.
All of us want to go back, but anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got to come up with something, folks. Challenge.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yep. Challenge. A challenge would be good. What would the challenge be?
One we talked about a long time ago, and I'm not saying we have to do it, but another idea is some kind of gear challenge where we're not allowed to use anything we've used before.
Yep.
None of the same brands or stuff. So no aperture F7s.
No F7s.
No
Yeah,
XT whatevers, no Canon Rs, no whatever cameras we've chosen that we can think of. Or
That would be
something
quite
else.
good. Or anything we own either.
That's an interesting one. That's a really good
Nothing-
one. I like it.
Nothing we own and nothing that we
You're not
have.
allowed to pick anything you own or have owned.
Ooh,
Okay.
Okay.
You could have used it
we just gotta
at
pick a number.
some point or not.
I suppose you could use it, but you've never.
used it.
It can't be like a regular in your kit that
Yep.
you've owned / have used a lot. So if you always rent XYZ, you're not allowed to use that.
Okay. Are we talking about a whole kit, or are we talking about a product category, as in camera, lighting, audio? What are we doing?
I think we should do kind of a general, kind of what we've done in the past. No stands, or should we do stands? I don't know. What budget should we pick?
No stands, and we assume that we have things like duvetine and maybe some diffusion material and stuff like that. Maybe or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I think lights, basic modifiers if you're going there. Cameras, lenses.
So you've got to be able to shoot something single camera.
Should we
single
stick with our typical single camera interview situation?
Single camera, and you've got to be able to shoot in interior, exterior locations. So you have to think about that. And that's going to come into play, especially when we talk about lenses. So don't forget the bits. And it's not like a 64 gigabyte SD card. It's like you're buying the camera and all the bits and the lighting and the audio so that you could go out and use this on jobs.
Yeah, let's
so
do stands too.
Yeah.
Let's do stands too, because that's a big part of what we've done in the past.
But do we have to do tripods as well then? Are we going that far? Feelings?
Yes, or I think if we're going to go down the stands,
if we're talking about ND filters and SD cards,
if we're going down that, it's nothing. We have nothing. We don't own a single thing.
Okay, fine. So I think Ben, I think you're hosting next week, and I think the challenge is $3,799.
Perfect. Let's do it.
That's gonna get gnarly at that price, dude. Oh
it is,
man,
but that's fantastic. That's far more fun. Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
David. I hope to see you there next week, man. $3,799 for everything to shoot an interview.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Using B&H again, I take it as our benchmark.
Yes, and the one thing you can do. Oh, come on, gee whiz.
5150.
Hey now, right? Coming in at the end. There it is. We'll put that over Caleb. There you go. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. So I need all the help I can get, because if that camera comes out at $37.99, Caleb and I are going to have to split the earnings from this channel so that we can take care of David. So David's in. You can also build your own kits, and if you go to B&H, you're allowed to use both the new and the used. If you're going to use used, make sure that you export a PDF or a screenshot of what your kit is, because there will be things that are bought, not many nowadays,
it'll disappear.
It'll disappear. So you kind of have to do it like right then. And if you want, you can just go to the c47.com and you go to the contact page, and you can just basically do that, or you can just send it to me. directly and just call it kit challenge at thec47.com. So kit challenge at thec47.com, and I should get it, and we will include some of your lists. Try to make it a scrollable or multi-page PDF. I can actually add PDFs now to Ecamm Live, and it will let me go through each of the pages, which I didn't know last time we did the show. You can actually just use arrows, and you can go left and right through the PDF, which is a beautiful thing. And we'll put that together, and I think
Just
this is
watch your
great.
quantities as well on those, because it does occasionally. You can put 2 on, and it only prices for 1. So just make sure you're accounting for that.
Add
That's
it all
right.
to your add it all to your cart, and you'll get
Just
that
because
final.
you're a
Tax
financial
doesn't matter.
advisor, David, I don't expect you to cheat, okay? Don't do any cheat. And by the way, you're not allowed to cheat when the camera comes out too. It's $3,799 US, and that is the listed price on B&H Photo. That has to be the selling price of the camera.
You gotta give him the cents, right? It's allowed to be like 99 versus 95.
Sure.
Or .00, is that your thing? He's a stickler.
The New Yorker in me says no, but that's fine. Sure. Yeah, we're basically let's make it even better. If it's under $3,800 US, then you're in that top tier. But if it's anything above $3,800, you drop down. If it's above $4,000, you're out. $4,000.01, David, and you get nada. Zip, zilch. But we got your number for us in the challenge. You're already making life hard for us because we have to do an entire kit for $37.99. Ben, will you do a quick title and description and try to get to me by Friday so I can put it up?
Sure.
Okay. Beautiful.
And with all of that madness, gee whiz, to quote our previous donor,
Yes.
dadgum, folks. Here we are. What an episode. What a lot to
Amazing.
talk about. David, you're something
Rob.
else. We love you.
And Rob, thank you.
Rob, thank you so much. And I believe there's one other. Am I wrong?
Who else? We
Maybe
had
not. Okay.
Rob, we had David, and we had G Wiz.
That's right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to do it for this week. Make sure you're here next week, and whenever this camera gets announced for all the shaming one way or another that's going to go down on this channel. Anything to wrap us up, Jem, Ben?
Well, Small Brown Fox says, "What does David get you 3 if he is wrong?"
Ooh.
In all caps, question mark, maybe put an exclamation point. That's up to David,
fine.
you know?
He has to tattoo "Living My Best Dongle Life" across his chest or something.
3 dongles
No,
now. What's the 220? What's the 220 saying?
Because of Jem's
You
face.
have to
on his
tattoo
back.
your YouTube URL on his arm.
That's it.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
kidding.
my goodness. Good. Next week. Love you guys. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much. And it's been fun to hang out again. So it's good.
Has
Ben?
missed everyone last week. Yeah, just nice to be back. It felt in these slightly isolated times. I missed everyone last week. That's kind of my little weekly social get together. But the pubs are open again here now, so you know.
Yeah.
So
I
Screen
feel
Podcast.
like I missed your 220 tickle. So, as Benjamin said, you know, I could use a little European 220 tickle every once in a while over
There
here
you
at
go.
the one
You're
here
not
in the
allowed-
110.
You're not allowed to come over here yet to experience the tickle.
Hanging out in the 110.
Yeah.
Any parting words, Caleb? Great hosting today,
hey,
by the way.
For once, I don't have to quickly scramble and find the end stream button. We'll see you guys next week. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you then.
And we're going to fade to black. See you guys.